Hi everyone, it's Ava Brown here, author of Bamboo and Fern. Also very recently co-author of the book Born for This Journey of Life, Loving Business and Success. Thank you so much for listening and watching this tape. I have made this tape because I want you to familiarize yourself with who I am and to give you a bit of background as to who is Ava Brown, the person behind the books just mentioned. I am from Jamaica, St. Elizabeth, to be very honest, a very rural farming community. A community where nobody went to university almost, and a community where sex, recreational activities were, around having babies. I'm from a large family of about 9 children, one now deceased sadly. And my mom, who I love very much, is still, relatively illiterate, can't read and write very well, still hasn't got a job, but she's my mom and I love her. I became a writer not because I set out to become a writer. I became a writer purely out of, I would say, accident. I mean, it's the case for many of us. I wanted to be a barrister, somebody who went to court and won all those cases. However, financially, it wasn't something that was viable in my family, as well as the fact that we just didn't have the money. It was just something that was laughed at by a lot of people around me. It was almost an unreachable dream. That said, today I'm not a barrister, but I have no regrets. I have done various professional activities, such as being a teacher. I've worked in banking. I have worked as a retail manager. I've worked in maritime. I've done my spate of time in various other sectors. I write for certain newspapers nowadays. I've spoken on stages I never envisaged I'd be able to do when I was that child growing up. So, a barrister would have kept me within the confines of a law court. With the things I've done, I've gone around the world, and I'm really glad that I've had such a very enriched life. So back to me being a writer. I started writing, I think if I can remember clearly, from when I was about 7 years old. I grew up as a child not knowing who my dad was. And in a lot of respects, as I reflect on it, I think that not knowing who your dad is or was is a very tricky thing, a tricky place for any child, more importantly, a girl. And I remember going to my mom and I asked her the question, purely because one, I was curious, but also everybody in the community talked about it. Behind my back, in front of me, to my siblings. And my brother wasn't very happy when people talked about this, so I went to my mom. And I remember the lesson I learned from that question at the time when kids were seen but not heard. My mom gave me a hiding that was so bad, bless her soul, I love her to bits. That's how she understood to discipline. She gave me a hiding, and that hiding made me understand at the time that I never was to ask a question again. A question that is still unanswered in many ways for me, but one that I've put to rest. And the beating I got from my mom that day it made me rebellious in some regard. It made me wanted to ask a question again. But instead of asking anybody, I started asking pen and paper. I started writing it down on pieces of paper and I hid it in carrier or waterproof plastic bags, under bushes, buried in the ground. And I would mark the spots because we roamed the community, so we would know where to find our things that we've hidden. And that's how I started writing. I started hiding stuff in plastic bags, and gradually the story built. As my experiences grew and I became a teenager into an adult, I had more to talk about, I had more questions, I had more to write about. So I continued writing. And by the time I became a young adult, so in my early 20s, there was so much more happening in my life that I needed to tell. But I never envisaged that I was going to write a book. I just know that I started becoming more emotional and more, I suppose, aware of what I wanted to say. I was a chatterbox, so I had lots of questions, a lot of arguments, a lot of ideas, a lot of queries, a lot of opinions and stuff. And so I got my opinions on paper. By the time I was mid-20s, I suppose, life started throwing things at me that I, at the time, probably didn't handle very well, couldn't handle, and I needed a medium to escape. So writing became that medium for me. I had a really terrible and tragic and traumatic, rather, experience in Jamaica in my mid-20s, and that really made me write more. I was writing almost every day because that became cathartic for me. Writing became the way I could express all of the hurt, the anguish, the pain, the questions, the queries, the turmoil actually that was going on within my head as a young child, a young adult, a young person, a mother, a wife. Writing became that place that I could become loose, become free, become honest with myself. When I could hide from everybody else, that was where I could be honest. And then I got a diary and I had a padlock. I remember it was so cute, and I would write and I would padlock that, and that was where my secrets were. That was where my treasure chest was. And as things happened and life changed and I got tossed about and life changed and the challenges, the triumphs, the hurts, the pain became more apparent and more, in terms of the enormity of them, I started writing more. Based on the traumatic experience I had in Jamaica, I came to London to live. And when I came to London, I felt like I was ejected out of my own DNA, that being the country of Jamaica in which I was born. Because it's not like I had planned to move from Jamaica. I wasn't struggling, life wasn't hard. Life became better as an adult. Life was good. I had a good job. I'd gone to college and I'd gotten an education. I was married. I had a child. I had a husband. So life wasn't terrible. But the experience I had made me feel very unsafe. And that had me move to London. When I came to London, I was faced with a separate and a very different set of experiences that made me wanted to write even more, but from a very different angle, a different perspective. I was now writing about the cultural differences, the weather. I was writing about the racism. I was writing about the discrimination. I was writing about the vicissitude of London. I was writing about the challenges I had. I was writing about very different experiences. And so I had what you almost could say a melting pot of writing ideas in my diary, different genre in some respect. If I were to pull them out and put them into different genres, that was possible. If I were wanting to put different, whether I wanted to have a romantic novel because I had my own exploits in there. If I wanted to have, something about the weather, something about love and romance, something about education, something about color and race, I had everything in that diary I could write about. And I started thinking, you know what? I'm sure there's somebody else on the planet who has gone through similar situations, be it incest, be it using education as a platform, be it the struggle, the poverty, the hardships, the triumphs, the overcoming, the perseverance. Somebody else has gone through some of these things, maybe in a different country, culture, maybe different situations, but I'm sure there were similarities between myself and others. And I was doing a master's degree at the time, and I remember going to Norway and I had an assignment to do. And I was late for the assignment, so I thought perhaps I needed to write about myself, which is what I was good at. And I wrote the assignment, and I came back from Norway, and I was called by the lecturer to ask me to come in to see them. And I thought, wow, I have failed this now. And lo and behold, I got contacted. I went to see the lecturer, and he said, no, we really wanted to talk about what you've written, and if it is true, we'd love to do a case study on you. Now, as a black girl, you hear the word case study instantaneously. You start thinking, whoa, hold on a minute here. Thankfully, I had a wider perspective of life, and I allowed the case study to happen. Before I knew it, the case study was great. It was well received, and the Financial Times and the Guardian and some other newspapers wanted to talk about it and wanted to interview me about it. By this time, I had now started editing my book, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity to publish because there was no media spotlight on me. And that's how I actually got published. The book has been sold into over 35 countries in less than a year. The reviews have been great. I'm really happy as well that I've been able to do Bamboo and Fern, especially because that has helped so many other people to heal in terms of some of the issues in it, be it incest, be it child poverty, be it, racism, discrimination, the vicissitude, being a single mom, you name it. It's helped a lot of people. And so writing has now become part and parcel of who I am. I write for various reasons. I write for different causes, and I'm really excited about it. So there's a bit about me. If you have any questions about it or any questions about who I am and what I do, my website is www.avabrown.org, or you can email me at info@avabrown.org. Thank you so much, and remember, it's Ava Brown here, author of Bamboo and Fern and co-author of Born for This Journey of Love, Life and Business. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you at video 2 because I'm doing 3 in this series, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.